Hi guys, we are from Group 3. We'll present about Unwritten Law.
Unwritten law. This type of law came from cases that decided by the court and local customs that are also known as common law. English law is divided into two parts: English commercial law and English land law. English commercial law is applicable in Peninsular Malaysia, except for Penang and Malacca, while English land law is applicable in Penang, Malacca, Sabah, and Sarawak. Judicial decisions. Judges do not decide arbitrarily. Instead, they are bound to follow certain accepted principles known as precedent. Custom law. In Malaysia, customs of the local inhabitants are also a source of law. Every race in Malaysia have their own customs.
Here's some additional information. Let's study on case related with unwritten law.
Syarikat Sebati Sdn Bhd versus Pengarah Jabatan Perhutanan and others. Who involved? Syarikat Sebati Sdn Bhd as the plaintiff, Pengarah Jabatan Perhutanan as defendant. The fact: the plaintiff applied for a long-term void letter to the defendant. The first defendant approved the application and the plaintiff was given the right to carry out the lodging activities. Eventually, almost 4 years, the first defendant responded with the proposed standard format of agreement for execution. The defendant did not respond, nor did they object to the draft revised agreement. The parties did not execute any formal agreement. The plaintiff then commenced Shah Alam High Court against the defendant on the basis the contract was terminated by way of the defendant conduct and sought for damage for breach of contract. The plaintiff then commenced originating summons in the Shah Alam High Court against the defendant, and the learned High Court judge allowed the plaintiff claim. Aggrieved with the decision, the defendant appealed against the said decision to the Court of Appeal, and the Court of Appeal allowed the appeal with cause. The judgment: the decision of the court that the plaintiff claim was premature and in consequence was dismissed with cause. In our view, the plaintiff failure to lead evidence on which agreement the parties were conducting on day-to-day affair is fatal to the plaintiff case. To say that the approval letter as well as the draft agreement had become one contract is not sustainable in law. It is either the terms of the approval letter or the terms of the draft agreement. Any construction otherwise by the court will breach the rule as to the requirement of certainty of term. Government of Malaysia versus Law Waikong. Who involved? Law Waikong, Federal Court, High Court, and the Government of Malaysia. The fact: Mr. Law Waikong is a resident of Australia, but he was charged with a criminal. His passport surrendered to the court as a condition of bail. He applied for new passport to return to Australia. The authorities reject the application. Mr. Law Waikong argued the right to travel abroad is a fundamental right. The judgment penned by Lord President Tun Muhammad Sufyan Muhammad Hashim, he sided with approval the minority judgment in the case, then stated that the issuance of passport was a prerogative of the Malaysian government. Tan Lesun versus Kamah Theatre Sdn Bhd. Who involved? Tan Lesun, Kamah Theatre Sdn Bhd, and Malaysian United Finance Berhad. The fact: in 1989, the plaintiff entered into negotiation with the defendant for the sale of certain piece of land. The document stated to the effect that the sale and purchase agreement was to be signed. The judgment: the document has all the ingredients of a binding contract. The defendant had wrongly refused to execute a formal agreement, and the plaintiff was entitled to judgment.
Created using Powtoon.